made money based off what I did well or didn't do well. So I put my mouth where my money is, or my money where my mouth is.
Put your mouth where your money is. I like that. So a simple change in Search Console, something that you can do in literally 30 seconds a minute, cost you $200,000.
Yeah, my fault. I have to trust you. I want to see your staff. I want to see what your staff says about you. I'm gonna look at your Glassdoor. I'm gonna
No,
see
that's
what people
me
say
out. If you
about
want to see what the staff says about it, that's me out. Today on The Engaging Marketeer, I am interviewing Peter Murphy-Lewis from the United States. Peter is an SEO and video content marketing expert. So we're going to be having some in-depth chats about content, how he started his business, how he fought against the big boys, and how he has literally just sold it. Although, spoiler alert, he's not going to tell me how much for, so don't hold on for that one. And he's also going to be asking me questions about SEO and putting me on the spot. Thanks for that one, Peter. But let's find out how well I do when the tables are turned with Peter Murphy-Lewis. You're in the digital marketing space. You're in the SEO industry. Can you tell us how you got started in that?
The short version is...
Yeah, the short version. Cut it down to about 3 or 4 hours. Go on.
The short version is I ran my own travel company in South America, and it was before travel embraced digitalization. People were still buying Frommers and Lonely Planet books, and that's how people were finding me. And I think I was one of the first travel companies to have a strong website, and then the first travel company to do all the bookings online, and then the first travel company to do everything in SEO. So I would never consider myself a professional, but I mean, I made money based off what I did well or didn't do well. So I put my mouth where my money is, or my money where my mouth is.
Put your mouth where your money is. I like that. But you say don't consider yourself a professional, but in many ways you've got more experience than most professionals because you started doing it for your own business.
That's true.
You're monetarily invested in it.
I feel lucky because I didn't have a lot of strong competition back then, right? So I was never technical. I was never an expert. I was just better than everybody else at the time. Now, as my company grew, we got almost to 50 full-time contractors or employees in 4 different cities and so forth. Obviously, I scaled. My role there was marketer and owner. So I ended up hiring a lot better people. And I've done it multiple times, but as you know, the SEO game changes. And right now it's in complete disarray.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask about that because obviously SEO does change. What year was this when you started the travel company?
2007. We opened our door. We built the company in November 2007. We opened our doors on February 1st, 2008 with a website. And I bet by 2010, probably 80% of our customers were all buying online.
Wow.
And most of them, because it was travel company, most people, and it was in South America, most of our people were buying tours online before they traveled to Chile.
Right, so they buy their tours in advance and then travel there. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you were targeting presumably mostly North American customers?
North America and Western Europe.
Okay, so who were your competitors at the time then?
Our competitors at the time were traditional bus tours, the bus tours that you'd have in London or New York or Paris. And we were doing bicycle tours, walking tours, wine tours, and then like kind of high-end 5-star packages, luxury packages to Atacama, Easter Island, and and Patagonia. And those things, to chip away at the institutional tourism chain of commissions and tour operators and hotels, our only advantage was online at the beginning.
So what were you doing to give you this advantage over your competitors? What tactics were you using?
Well, SEO at the beginning. The second thing was TripAdvisor, right? So like the larger companies that were doing, $2 to $10 million in revenue per year didn't even care about those things. They just had a system up. They couldn't see. I feel like they got slapped in the face like Blockbuster did when they were still renting out DVDs and VHS. And then after we build up the revenue and build up the team and build up our brand, then our guerrilla marketing was by far the best, right? That's what got us in New York Times twice. Paul McCartney booked with us twice, Beyonce and Aerosmith. So then we kind of became really, really trendy. I just exited this company yesterday, Darren. Yesterday. We
Wow.
signed the papers yesterday with my business partner, and I told him he could no longer call me partner. He could call me friend.
And are you allowed to tell us what that deal was?
No.
Can you give us an indication? Is it a deal that you are very,
I can
very
tell
happy
you,
with?
I can tell you it was such a perfect deal for both of us. We didn't need attorneys.
Oh, wow, that's
we
rare.
started the conversation. We started the conversation 2022, and he wanted to continue putting more money into it post COVID. And I said, okay, let's test it. Let's do a first year, get it running up and going. And then he got it up and going, and he said, I want to take this on. And I said, I'm out. I'm a fractional CMO at this point. I'm doing TV shows. I'm doing documentaries. Let's give it to you. So we came up with a very fair agreement for both of us. It was over time and gentle, and I need to transfer the domains to him soon, Darren. When we're done with this, I need to go get him those.
So that's your next step, is to transfer the domains, right? Okay. Well, speaking of domains, one of the things that you wanted to talk about specifically was domain authority. So for those listening to this that maybe don't know what that means, can you explain what domain authority is and what it means to you?
I'll explain how the way that I approach it when speaking to a non-marketer, so a CEO. That's majority of my clients are CEOs who aren't marketers and need support in this area. They're working with a bunch of agencies. I try to explain what people's first impression is of you as a person, as an executive, as CEO, as a founder, as your company before they ever interact with you. Today, that is not just SEO. That's LinkedIn. If you have the bandwidth, that's YouTube. It's definitely AI, right? Like, I'm pitching a new documentary to a bunch of larger investors in Latin America, because I've been doing documentaries for some time. Now I'm trying to move into Latin America. And I did all of the work yesterday, every single piece of the work on AI. And before I pitch to these investors, I then use AI and say, find any lawsuits, find me negative press on them, find me, what do people talk about them on Glassdoor? What do they like to work with, right? So I'm not just doing who's the person who has the opportunity for me. I'm also checking if I actually want to work with them. And that domain authority has changed with the arrival of AI. And now I don't just look up a brand, I look at the person, right? We have so much more access to people's information.
Yeah. And there's quite a famous example going around right now through North America. I should explain, this is being recorded in April with a particular business where its founder, its head, because he's not actually the founder, is he? He's causing a lot of problems for the business by the stuff that he's doing with the US government. Mr. Musk.
I've heard of him.
You've heard of him damaging the business, because even though he's not involved necessarily in the day-to-day, he is affecting the brand, and what he does is having a negative impact on the brand and causing problems with the share price of the business and the sales of the products across the globe. You can have that as a founder, as a business owner, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, just as much as you can have a positive impact on it, right? That's why I publish every single day on LinkedIn. I'm a keynote speaker. You can have the negative impact, and the negative impact not only is faster, it's harder to recover from, right?
Yeah.
So I would love to be in the boardroom and see what his shareholders are talking to him about.
I bet it's not going to be pleasant, is it? It's not going to be pleasant.
Speaking of it, I had a friend. I'm not very political. I'm pretty middle of the road in everything with politics. But I have a Democrat liberal friend last week who went to protest at Tesla stores, and he traveled like 3 hours for it. So like it's definitely impacting his brand in some way or another.
Absolutely. So when you were running this business and you were doing the SEO, you mentioned how it was easier back then because there weren't as many people doing it. What sort of things from an SEO perspective were you doing that your competitors weren't back in 2007, 2008?
Oh, this brings up good memories. Simple things that I did well, but not knowing that they were going to have the impact that they did, which was we had about, I would say, 100 interns come through our company in the first 10 years of existence. The company is now going on almost 20 years right now, and 100 interns the first. We had every single intern document their first couple weeks arriving to Santiago, Chile. So we
Wow.
talked about what restaurants they went to, if they stayed at a hostel, a hotel, what bus they took, what about local culture, and it ended up being like kind of like the way people use Reddit today. But in 2000, 2007, 2010, 2013, Reddit didn't have the presence that it has today on Google. So people were just coming to our website and realizing how to move around, how to get to Vineyard on your own. They were using us kind of like a Wikipedia. Now, I didn't do that 100% from SEO with a strategy at the beginning. I mostly did it to make these people feel part of the team and keep our website active. But after about a year and a half, and I realized that we were ranking on tons of keywords that were, top of funnel, like best hotel to stay at, or which vineyard can I get to by subway. All of that had a positive impact on us for numbers point of view. Today, like I no longer oversee the written content team. We have 3 people on our team who are spending almost all of their energy writing, and they're much more technical. They're much more advanced than me. I can still read, hrefs and so forth. But now what I'm into is I'm trying to figure out how we can repurpose all of that content across other channels. So our blogs, we're turning into YouTube videos. We're putting those on LinkedIn articles. Then we're going in, we're writing questions on Reddit. We're putting an answer to the Reddit with the links over to these pages that aren't sales pages so that and then Google obviously gives a significant percentage of its search real estate to YouTube. So soon as you can rank on YouTube, you're gonna outrank some of your competitors by doing a process like that. I don't have it perfect. I mean, I wouldn't sell this to someone, but I am fine tuning it right now.
Yeah. So what you were doing effectively is what a lot of digital marketing companies started talking about quite heavily. When are we now? We're in April, end of last year, middle of last year, perhaps, which is employee generated content, EGC. Because we've had UGC, user generated content, for a long time, but employee generated content is something that only really coined its phrase last year. And yet you were doing it, almost 20 years ago, which is quite groundbreaking, really, to be doing that.
Yeah. As I said, it was luck at the beginning, mostly around culture. Yeah.
So, how have you seen SEO in its many forms change over the years? And did anything happen after 2007 that caused you concern?
Well, I made some mistakes along the way. So I'll tell you the mistakes so you and I can chuckle, and then move to how I see things changing, because I was in a mastermind yesterday for 90 minutes only around SEO and AI. And there was 20 people in the room, every single one of them smarter than me. So my mistakes had to do with like messing up the targeting side of Google Search Console and telling analytics where we wanted our traffic to grow. I don't know who did this, but as the owner and co-founder, blame me. So whether I hired a contractor or hired a full-time SEO agency, whatever it is, or if it was me, at one point in 2011 or 2012, we did something inside of Google Search Console where we told people that our majority of our traffic should be from Chile, and we completely destroyed our traffic. And what was stupid about it back then, I wasn't the organized kind of entrepreneur that I am today, that I didn't have a scorecard following, leading metrics and trailing metrics to know every single 7 days what's going up or what's going down, to know how it's going to impact my revenue. I found out 3 months too late when I tanked my revenue, and then had to go in and make that simple adjustment back inside of Search Console, and it took a while to recover, but it did.
So a simple change in Search Console, something that you can do in literally 30 seconds a minute, cost you $200,000.
Yeah, my fault. But going up to, speeding up to kind of how things are today. Yesterday in this mastermind, from a really cool group that I belong to called Rhodium, there was just these brilliant SEO experts who have all made lots and lots of money over the last 10 years. These people, own 5 to 40 content sites. And just rolling it in, all brilliant people, and they've all seen their sites been hit in the last year to year and a half by Google updates. And yesterday they were all talking about where do we put our energy from an AI point of view? How are we telling people to read our sites? What do we want them to read? What are the tools to keep track? And they asked me, because this is a 6-week sprint, and they said, every 2 weeks we're meeting. We want to know what you're going to do when you're done with the session today. And they called out everybody. I said, I'm here to know what I can do less of, because I am, I feel like I'm throwing paint at the wall, trying to fix SEO problems for different clients that have been hit over time. And I said, we're doing too much. We just need to slow down and do 1 or 2 things. I don't have the answer to that. Hopefully I'll know in six weeks. But man, if this is confusing to a marketer like me, maybe it's a lot less so to you, Darren, but if it's confusing to a marketer, think about what it's like for a non-marketer, right? Like the CEO who saw their traffic, like HubSpot, who got their traffic hit in the last 6 months. What does their board think of that?
No, you're absolutely right. They won't have a clue. Well, they have no reason to know what's going on. They'll be doing the same thing they've always done, and something just suddenly changed. It's what happened, what changed, why did it happen, why did it happen to us, what have we done wrong? And it's like they haven't changed anything. How do we fix it? That's the key, and the vast majority of people are not going to have a clue, especially when the experts are looking around to see what is it we're going to do. Nobody seems to know. Nobody seems to know what's going to happen. It's very much up in the air. It's like we've been fighting a lot lately with Google's AI overview, because that came in, when was it, back end of the beginning of last year. I think that started to get a bit of traction. We've always had Google featured snippets for clients, bringing thousands and thousands of visitors for one particular piece of content through a featured snippet per year. And that has just suddenly gone because it's now all AI overview. How do you replace that?
Yeah.
What can you do? I don't think there's anything you can do to replace that traffic.
I don't think so either. I can tell you that there's one simple, it sounds like you're an SEO expert, or at least part of your team dabbles in this. One thing that has worked for us for the last 9 months very effectively, and I don't think that this is going to change in the near term, which is having a PR backlink strategy that's legitimate, right? So we send every Wednesday, we send an email that goes out. We send out 3 different emails with 3 different pitches to 1,000 different journalists, and we're getting 3 to 15 backlinks with my quotes, with my voice, with my name, that are being done by my team, and we see our domain rating going up and up and up, despite we don't know 100% what's working and not working from an SEO point of view. And so that process, that's actionable, right? Like if you're a small entrepreneur with a 4-man team, that process, I don't think that the serious backlinks that you can get from new media and traditional media, I don't imagine Google punishing anyone for doing legitimate work in the next 2 years.
No, I'd agree with that. And PR outreach has always been a superb way to build domain authority. It's just a question for most business owners on time. How do they spend the time doing it? How do they find the right sites to go to? And you said you're sending, was it 3 different versions out to 1,000 journalists? How are you? Yeah. I mean, maybe this is your trade secret. I don't know. How are you finding 1,000 journalists to send them out to?
There are tools. So I don't remember the names of them. Oh, one of them is Press Jockey. So there's like 5 different versions of tools like Press Jockey, or competitive companies that do like helping a reporter out. There's a whole bunch of those in that space now.
Oh yeah, Harrow.
And so journalists, those journalists are giving their email away. So you're not going to be flagged for cold email, right? Their emails. And as long as your pitch is good and you're not, hounding them over and over and over, they're not going to mark you. And we get positive replies. Now, back to your question, like, do you have the time? Honestly, I didn't have any time to do this until a year ago. But what I can tell you is if I knew what I know now, I just would have hired someone to do it. I think that you could, in theory, find someone who's doing as great a job as I am for my own company with my team for probably $2,000 a month. And if you're, if domain authority is important for you, if traffic is important for you, $2,000 a month for something that's going to be here in 2 years, that's paying for branding, not advertising. It's going to build you up, and you won't have to pay for that in the future. It's a compound effect.
It's a compound effect, yeah, because that's something I talk about a lot when clients ask me, business owners ask me, where should I put my money? Should I put it into SEO or should I put it into Google ads or Facebook ads? Because they get instant results. And it's all about the compound effect. Google ads, you switch them off, that's it, they're gone. Whereas SEO will compound over time, content will compound over time, and you can get traffic, you can get leads, you can get inquiries, you can get sales from a piece of content you did 15 years ago.
And depending on how competitive your industry is, Darren, you need to be careful. They're serious competitors, the number one players in a market space are going to send bots and VA agencies to spend your ad budget. So I worked in enterprise SaaS. We were selling large contracts of electronic healthcare records, $25,000 to $150,000 a year contracts. And all of our ad spend was being taken up by some agency. And we could never figure out who it was, and we just quit doing ads, and we put all of our time into SEO, all of it. And we grew, we rebranded from zero visitors to 44,000 visitors in a year and a half. When we exited the company, we sold the company through private equity. But thank God I didn't spend a year and a half focusing on ads.
It's frightening that that's still possible. Yeah. That you can run ads and somebody can basically just burn through your ad budget.
Well, I mean, if it's our competitor was doing $500 million a year in revenue, they probably paid some agency in a third world country $10,000 a month and said, just eat up all of our competitors' ad budget. Just had someone clicking away using VPNs. They would even fill out our forms with emails and so forth.
Oh, to make it look more realistic, so Google couldn't identify
our
that
CRM would be full of shit.
So, top tip for people listening to this: don't bother with Google ads.
Yeah, or don't piss off the number one player in the market space.
Yeah, but you're going to want to do that, aren't you? If you're going to want to grow your business, you're going to have to do that. It's unavoidable. Because they might buy you.
Well, the other affordable option is have a great podcast like you, Darren, and that will help you growth hack as well.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to mention it, but thank you for the plug.
Yeah, your competitors aren't downloading your Spotify episodes to inflate your metrics, and they can't make you waste money.
They can't do that. No. But if they want to do that, they can. I'm well. Please go ahead.
And they can't make us any uglier than we already are. I'm married. I'm ready. I'm good.
Oh, I don't know. With AI, you can do. I turned myself into a Muppet the other day, and I got absolutely butchered by it. I don't know what went wrong. It was horrific.
VidIQ's thumbnail auto generator made me bald yesterday.
Nasty.
The only thing I really have in life is glasses and good hair.
You've got more hair than Chewbacca. How could it have made you bald?
No.
Ridiculous. So, content marketing. When you were building up this business, other than getting the employee-generated content right at the start, what was your strategy for content marketing?
Once again, I have to say it was embarrassingly organic. Not organic in the way of SEO, organic in the way that we just kind of started working on it. We would try to figure out what the top of funnel content people were searching for. The way that we did it is we went to TripAdvisor forums and we looked at what are the questions people are asking that had the most amount of engagement. And then we just tried to write a much better blog, embed a video into it, have better H1s and H2s. And, back then it was tags and number of keywords and so forth. Today, my strategy is much more exhaustive and thorough, right? We call it, when we're starting with a new client, we come up with buckets. So what are the buckets that are competitors? What are the adjacent? What are some of the things people are searching for that actually aren't related to our product, but would be helpful type of thing? And then we just chip away at it. Every single quarter, we come up with what are the 10 to 30 keywords that we want to be in the top 10 for, and we plug away. But we don't outsource anything. We bring in-house writers for each one of our clients that are kind of subject matter experts in that. If necessary, we'll write it under client's voice, right? So like if Darren's the CEO in a healthcare space, then we're writing content under him. He doesn't have time to write, but you are the expert. So we're posting on your LinkedIn and on your blog that way. Pretty
And
basic. I feel like that's kind of what every SEO person's been doing for the last 10 years, wouldn't you?
it's pretty accurate. Yeah, what you described is a pretty solid content marketing strategy, I feel. What about, I was going to say, those people that think about, oh, should I be writing blogs for my website? Should I be writing content? Oh, I'm going to do one a week. That's enough. What's the actual level of content that a business such as yours should be doing? And anyone listening to this probably should be sitting down at this point, I feel.
Well, my agency has kind of three things going on, right? So I'm a fractional CMO for companies who can't afford a full-time CMO, but they need the strategy. And then I have a traditional marketing agency behind me with retainers, 15 teammates, employees. And then I sell documentaries. My content strategy is pretty aggressive because I have a team to do it. So we're publishing probably 3 blogs per week on my website. Every single thing that comes out on a podcast or any press, we're then doing a rewrite and repurposing that and putting on our page. And then we're pushing that out into social media tools that will distribute across the web. Our favorite tools, Q Promote. And I can see that that's effective because I see the people who are sharing it on LinkedIn and sharing it on Twitter. I would say the only thing that is nuanced to what I just shared with you about 3 to 4 blogs per week that we've done in the last year is we are now checking our keywords to see who is ranking ahead of us on Reddit or LinkedIn. And we're taking a percentage of our content that was going onto our blog, and we're now writing them as articles under my name on LinkedIn. And then we're spending probably 3 hours a week going over to Reddit to answer people's questions and be as helpful as possible. And when relevant, we can share a link either to our blog or to LinkedIn or to a YouTube video.
So you've mentioned Reddit quite a lot here. It's cropping up in a lot of SEO strategies and a lot of talks on SEO. How important is Reddit from an SEO perspective?
I think it's probably the most important thing right now that you need to get a hold of and need to learn. To give you from a B2C point of view, right? I went on spring break vacation 2 or 3 weeks ago with my wife and my son and then another family. When all of us got on the van that day, we talked about where we were traveling. We were going to travel about a 12-hour road trip to a place we'd never been to on the beach. Every single adult in the car, except for my wife, had done all of their research on Reddit. We determined what beach we were going to go to, what restaurants we were going to go to, what excursions our kids would be kid-friendly excursions, where we could rent a boat. That's insane. I'm 44 years old, Darren. A year ago, I didn't use Reddit for anything other than like, should I buy this backpack versus that backpack? And they were like photography backpacks, like geeked out niche specific stuff. And today I'm using it almost like I use ChatGPT.
That's impressive. Yeah, well, I'm shocked that it's become so ingrained into a family's research on where to go on holiday, because you just wouldn't think of using it like that unless it's something that's part of your daily routine.
I wonder for me, it's not because I looked in Reddit. It's because Google showed it to me. And the younger, smarter, kind of thorough investigators in my life. So my friends, I'm 44, my friends who are 30 to 40, they've just been talking about Reddit for the last 2 years, and I haven't been using it. So now that Google is showing it to me in the top 5, I'm like, oh, my smart friends use it. I'll just click on this link for the first time in my life and then spend a little bit of time reading it. I can see the upvotes. I'm like, oh, this must be trustworthy. It has 17 thumbs up.
And the fact that Google is promoting it shows how much value and importance it's got from an SEO perspective. Otherwise, Google just wouldn't give it any real estate at all.
I think, like if you're not a Reddit user, I'll explain something to you in kind of layman's terms to explain how impactful it is. It's the same reason that you look at reviews on Amazon. It's the same reason when you go to, TripAdvisor or anything like that, you look at who's ranking at the top. And it's same thing with Product Hunt, right? Product Hunt launches new tools all day long that we can use on our Google Chrome or whatever. And whatever's at the top, those are the first 2 or 3 tools you and I are going to test. Well, Reddit is that, right? It's telling you what other people like. And SEO, unfortunately, there's been a lot of bad players out there, and people don't trust high-ranking websites the same way that they used to. So those of us who do good SEO, like you and me, I would suppose, we have to adjust our strategy and start to think about Reddit and LinkedIn, and now make sure we're putting everything on YouTube as well.
Yeah, I'll come on to YouTube in a bit. Obviously, you being a filmmaker as well, that's going to be doubly important to come on to. But you mentioned ChatGPT. A lot of people, when they think about content for their website, they think it's easy. I'm going to go to ChatGPT. I'm going to say, knock out 10 blogs for me, and there you go. There's my content for the next month. What's your view on AI and how it can be effectively used for content?
What you just described there sounds like a recipe for disaster to me. I feel like Google is going to just punish me at the next update. And I'm not going to rank for anything. If I do rank for anything, at some point I'm going to be penalized, and it's going to be hard to change Google's impression of me and what I'm doing as a good player in the SEO space. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't use AI. I use AI every single day for every new idea. I start there. I usually start with audio, and I will have a conversation like, hey, I'm working with Darren. He's in the podcasting space, and he wants to rank for selling his podcasting services or whatever, his production company. Then I start there and be like, what are the people, what's going to be top of funnel? What's going to be middle of funnel? What's going to be bottom of funnel? Then I'll say, how should my strategy from an SEO point of view be different for YouTube versus website, right? And I will start there with ideas. Then I will go over to a tool and go see what's being written and how I can actually improve it. And I'm not going to improve it through AI. I'm going to go watch a YouTube video that has, 100,000 views, but only 20,000 subscribers. Like, why did this person pick up on the traffic, right? And I'll do the exact same thing with blogs. What is something that might be ranking, that might be getting lots of traffic, but isn't well written, and how can I prove it? And there, I'd go back and I have a real human write that. They might come up with the outline, but there's a real human putting in the paragraphs that's coming up with opinions that matter, that's valuable. How do you approach it?
Well, something very similar, to be honest. I personally don't use it that much for research. I do everything off my own personal opinion and experience, because I make it very story-based. When we're working for clients, we might do it for initial research, for brainstorming, for coming up with concepts or clusters. But in terms of writing, absolutely not. Never use it for that in any capacity whatsoever. You cannot trust what it says. Everything is written in a very passive, non-specific tone. You can identify AI content very easily. There are tools to identify it. We use a lot of freelance writers who are human writers, and since AI's come in, the people that apply to be writers with us has gone up by hundreds and hundreds of %, because they all think they can do it now very easily and very quickly. So we have to very, very carefully check every submission that we get to make sure that we are not having somebody trying to essentially just pump the brief into ChatGPT, output it and send it to us. We even had one a couple of months ago, this is very rare, where the submission they sent to us actually had at the bottom the ChatGPT response, sure, here's a sample for a profile for somebody who may be North American and lives in Kansas. And it's like, really? And they thought we were going to pay them for content for doing that.
Oh, that's cringe.
I know, right? But that's what's happening. It is very, very good. It is very, very clever, but it is also very, very dangerous, because it makes it seem so easy for people to create content that they think they can get away with it. And there was one thing you mentioned in there that I think we should pick up on. You said if you use ChatGPT, Google will punish your website, and it will be a very long time before Google will trust your website again. This goes back to what you said about Google Search Console and where you made your site Chile specific as opposed to North American. It took a while for that to be fixed. If you do use AI like this and you do cause these problems and you do get punished, it's not an overnight fix, is it? It's not something you can just flick a switch and suddenly you're going to be okay again.
You might not. It might not be as catastrophic as doing black hat SEO and getting caught. But I know a lot of brilliant SEO content writers who've had content sites hit in the last year or two, and they have no idea how to recover them. No idea how to recover them.
Because Google doesn't tell you, does it? It doesn't tell you what the problem is.
No. Have you ever tried to talk to Google's customer service about SEO?
Not about SEO. I have about Google business profile locations, and that is an exercise in frustration. Yeah, it's not something that's pleasurable. Over the years, you'll have seen a lot of changes in Google, a lot of changes in SEO. What's been the biggest change you've seen that has affected either you or one of your competitors or the industry on a whole?
I think it's back to the very first thing that you talked about with snippets and how I'm reading Google at the top, right? Like even myself, every single day I ask a question, this versus this, and I read Google's. And if it's enough for me to make a fast decision, or at least tell my team where, at least go check out these 2 tools or go check out these 3 tools or think about this strategy, then they run with it from there. Now, that has had a negative impact on some of our clients who were spending most of their energy on top of funnel, and they were B2C type clients. So travel industry, even some banks, types of things like that. But if you are working on the domain authority on a more holistic manner, right? Like thinking that my name is part of my brand, not just my company, thinking about people are going to be searching me in AI, and you're approaching it from a journalist point of view, you're on podcasts, you're on YouTube, you're on LinkedIn, and all of these things that can favor you, right? So like yesterday, when I was in that coaching, in that mastermind class, I went in incognito and played around with all the keywords similar to what I do. Fractional CMO work, somebody who does branded documentaries, long story. And I was showing up in across, Perplexity, ChatGPT. And that's because I think and I say I think because I'm not certain, it's because I think that I've approached it in a holistic manner, not spending all of my resources only on one channel, so that Google just pulls the carpet out from underneath me.
No, I think that is very important. Google has for a long time talked about the authority of the author, the authority of the person behind the content, and to have that wide reach across LinkedIn, across YouTube, across podcasting, wherever you can get your personal name out there. It shows that when you publish content in your name, Google knows that, yes, that's this person. They have this credibility. We can trust them. So their content is of real value, and you'll get those increased rankings that you wouldn't get otherwise. So when people ask, why do you bother doing a podcast? Why do you bother publishing on LinkedIn? It's those reasons. It's the reasons that you can't quite quantify.
Darren, I've got a SEO question for you that I feel like you might know better than me. Do you know if Google gives more weight to certain visitors based around who they are? I'll tell you why. So, I've spent a decent amount of time bringing in my ideal customer profile to look at my website from a documentary point of view. And I can see they're doing it because I'm using those identification tools that tells me who their LinkedIn is. So these are bigwigs. These are CEOs of large companies, broadcast companies, national media companies. Is there a chance that if I'm only getting 100 visitors of more important authority, that would have more impact on Google than 1,000 of people who are never going to buy from me, and nor are they decision makers?
I think the obvious answer is it depends. What I would say is, no one, I don't think anybody would actually know that for a fact. But because Google search is so personalized, and what you see when you search for something is going to be different to what somebody else sees when they search for something, if Google knows that, say, particular people of a certain stature are looking at your content over others, it's more likely that it would prefer your content to somebody similar when they're searching for it, as opposed to somebody completely unrelated. in much the same way that Facebook's algorithm would work or TikTok's algorithm would work, that it's showing content because people like you like this. People like you have reacted to this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's entirely possible. So yes, you're thinking maybe you don't need to go wide and get loads and loads of traffic. You want the targeted traffic for the people that are most relevant. I'd say you're probably right.
Yeah, like now that I'm kind of teasing this out in live on a live call with you, it makes me think back to your question of how have we changed or what are we doing in a nuanced way from an SEO point of view, and that's impacted the SEO that I've done on my own website. We now that I can identify who's hitting which web page, even though they're not giving me their information, right? I'm selling a high retainer service where a lot of CEOs don't want to give me their email. They want to research me for a while. And I can see that the top of funnel content that I was going for beforehand, 1 in 100 was my ICP. And the bottom of funnel content, it's 100%. 100 out of 100. So I've just all is ICP. So I've almost quit doing top of funnel because those tools have helped me identify who that anonymous visitor is. It's changed my strategy.
That's interesting, which will save you time.
Yeah, and then I connect with them on LinkedIn because it's given me their LinkedIn account, and I'm using my LinkedIn as my secondary website. It's like my landing page because LinkedIn is going to show them my profile for the next 7 days. I post 7 days a week, so LinkedIn is going to nurture them. What I was using for email nurturing 10 years ago, I'm using LinkedIn nurturing today.
I love that as a strategy, and it's occurred to me I actually do something similar, but I've not documented it. I'm not consciously doing it, but I am doing something similar. I have a particular lead magnet that people download for a networking organization, and I see who downloads this, and they're all business owners. They're all in business. Most of them are in the UK or they're in the United States, a couple in Australia, New Zealand. I will then connect with them on LinkedIn when I see it, because I know who they are. I can identify them, and I'm posting regularly as well. It is working. I've had one-to-one meetings with people from New Zealand as a result of doing this. Yeah. It's not something I've actually documented and systemized as a process, but now after speaking to you, I'm going to. I love it. Yeah. I love it.
And we actually have 2 people on the team that are doing SDR roles for both myself and my high ticket clients. So I have a couple clients who, are doing $20,000 to $50,000 types of services, roofing, commercial painting, baseball stadiums, and things like that. And so we aren't waiting for the people to fill out a quote form. Soon as they hit our website, we're identifying exactly who they are. We are connecting with them on LinkedIn with the CEO of our client. And then somebody on my team is playing an SDR role, and we're calling that person within an hour. We don't say we've identified you on our website. We offer them the monthly special or the monthly promo. Can we send them an email or book a call for them?
And of course, they're more likely to be receptive to that because that is actually what they are looking for at that time. They just haven't said it.
Right. But had I not done the SEO work, I wouldn't have the traffic. Now I just have a new tool that identifies them. And when I identify them, I put in a LinkedIn process and an SDR process, and it's closing deals.
It's fantastic. Because, a lot of people, they won't fill in an inquiry form, will they? They don't want to do that. They don't want someone phoning them up.
Yeah.
But
well, they don't want a crappy newsletter again, right?
Oh, God. Number of times I've spoken about that. Hey, subscribe to our newsletter. No. Funny enough, that doesn't work. It is not 2002 anymore. Okay, YouTube. How important is video content for a business, and what can people do who don't like to have their face in front of the camera?
Well, those 2 big questions.
Yeah.
So for me, YouTube has the biggest long-term impact for a high-ticket client, right? I can't speak so much for B2C. I do have one B2C client who's killing it on YouTube, but they're doing it under their own guidance. I'm not overseeing it, so I can't speak to that. But for anyone in B2B, once you can figure out the algorithm, once you can figure out the frequency, the timeliness, the consistency, the thumbnails, the quality, the value, will nurture people before they ever come to your website. It, for me, is very, very critical. So I do probably 30 videos a quarter for my own brand. I probably do 5 to 15 videos for some of my bigger clients where I'm the face for them. And then if my client has an executive who feels comfortable on camera, feels comfortable in front of a microphone, cut me out. Let's make them. It'll make it a lot easier. It's just a fantastic way for people to build trust and authority. Now, going back to your question, if you don't have the resources to figure it out, it might take you 3 years. You might feel like you're, spinning, 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 spinning. But I mean, there are inexpensive, really, really good consultants on Upwork and freelance who know what they're doing. You can look at their account and then they can cut up the video and guide you. Right now, I'm following a methodology from a consultant that I really admire named Shane Hummus, and his methodology is called the CAN methodology, CAHN, I believe. And all he tells you to do is find what are topics that you feel comfortable speaking on, giving value to. Go over to YouTube and look around for it. Use a tool like VidIQ and see what are the ones that have the most amount of views with the least amount of subscribers. Make sure that it didn't come through ads. Make sure it didn't have a fast uptick in views. Make sure it's gradual. Make sure they're still getting views. Look at the engagement and figure out what they didn't do well on the video. It means they don't have much competition. So they got the hook wrong. Their audio sounds bad. Usually it's audio, in my opinion, or the hook. Yeah. And just do a better version of that. And you could start that without hiring anybody. Last week, I published 3 videos without editing a single thing, doing that exact same process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what sort of engagement on the videos did you get, or what sort of reach?
I would say mixed results, but remember, but they were very specific. So mistakes to avoid when hiring your first CMO. How many people are searching that, right? And Google's not going to put that up for discoverable material either. But I only need 5 CEOs to see that are thinking about hiring their first CMO. I'm not going for massive content. I'm going for 5 to 10 ICPs looking at it, right? Like I'm selling documentaries at 6 figures and helping people control their narrative. I have an 8-year-old son. My wife won't let me film 12 documentaries a year, so I just need 3.
But you're right. Yeah, the more niche you can make it, you don't need huge views with the video because it's about the right person seeing the video. Mm-hmm. And in terms of the actual way the video is added to YouTube, how important is the thumbnail, the title, the description, call to action, cards?
All of that's important. Just use VidIQ. I think it's $20 a month or $15 a month. Yeah. It'll create the thumbnail for you. You can tell whether the video that you're competing with, it'll create it for you based off that, and it'll give you suggestions on the title, and it'll optimize everything for you.
You just make it sound so easy.
It is. It is easy. Yesterday, I saw a post. We have a video that I did kind of around the LinkedIn process that I just shared with you 10 minutes ago. And it's our first long format video that hit 550 views in its first week. So that 550 views, it's aimed at CEOs, right? That's trending for me and finally making some progress.
Oh, fantastic. And where do you see SEO going? This is a standard question everybody should be asked about SEO. What's the future? What do you predict it's going to do?
I have no idea, Darren. I have no idea.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. Why don't you tell me? I always feel like I'm the dumbest person in the room when it comes to SEO. I try to do 1 or 2 good things well, and then I let everyone else do the exploratory stuff, and then I'll pick up 1 more thing to my toolbox. So what should I be picking up to my toolbox today so that I'm ready in a year?
So that you're ready in a year. Well, Google has already wiped out the featured snippets. It's replacing everything at the top with AI. It's a question of whether people will be happy with that, because there's a lot of mistakes with Google's AI overview. There's a lot of information it's giving that is wrong. Some of it, I believe, has been deliberately hacked by people to make it appear wrong. I can't think of the specific example, but it's giving really stupid responses that are so obviously wrong that cannot be accidental. And I believe that people are seeding content to filter into Google's AI overview, which we do, because we'll look at what an AI overview is that a particular client would want to be involved with, and we'll see what's missing, and we'll create content that encompasses what's there but adds what's missing so that it can be included. I think people are doing that deliberately, putting false information in to make the AI overview look ridiculous, to show Google it doesn't work. Whether Google gets cleverer and learns to filter that out, or whether Google backtracks a little bit and takes out the AI overview in exchange for what was originally there, I don't know. I don't know.
I think you answered the same way I did,
Did I?
but much more professionally.
Oh, did you think I did? Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure I did. But yeah, I mean, I'm at an SEO conference next week.
Oh, nice.
In Brighton. 2-day conference. They've done it in the US as well. They did San Diego either last year or this year they're doing it. But there's a lot of proper nerds there talking about...
man, I went to SEO Mastery last year
Yeah.
with Mads Singer in Vietnam, and it was so great to be around all of those nerds.
That sounds good.
Yeah. There weren't very many women in the room.
A lot of beards.
Yeah,
Well,
a lot of beards and bellies.
That's weird, actually, because at the UK conferences, there are a lot of women. There's a lot of women in SEO in the UK. So are you finding it a particularly male-dominated industry in the US?
The two big conferences that I've been to in the last 2 years, I would say 90% men.
Wow. Oh, that's frightening.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's because in the UK, there's a lot of content involved with it, and there's a lot of PR involved with it. And that comes in. So we're getting... It's not all technical SEO, although there's a lot of women in technical SEO, but there's also a lot of writing and a lot of PR. I don't know whether I'm generalizing there, whether I've just made a terrible faux pas, but there's a lot of women in our conferences, definitely. And a lot of female speakers as well, which is good.
Yeah.
So what's the future for you? What do you hold now that you have literally just sold your business and you are no longer a business partner, but a friend?
Well, I'm building my second company right now, Strategic Pete, and I work with 2 to 4 big clients at any given time as a fractional CMO. So I have a couple. I have a VC client, a private equity client, working with an AI client, and banking. And right now, I'm repositioning a good percentage of my marketing agency team's energy towards long-form storytelling, documentaries. I've produced and directed and hosted 3 documentaries, and I have 3 more in the pipeline. I have 2 calls today for it. So I'm moving my company kind of towards almost like a media company with storytelling. That experience comes from me being a TV host. I've been a TV host in South America for the last 10 years in Spanish, kind of like the Mike Rowe's dirty jobs. And I've brought that experience to the US and found a unique niche where I can help underrepresented or misunderstood industries tell their story in a different way through their employees. And so far, I don't see anyone else doing it. I love doing it. I love the storytelling. My agency's pretty on autopilot. I have some brilliant people that have been with me for a long time, and they like new projects. So we're putting some of them to that.
So with these documentaries, this is essentially a business or a business owner will say, I need a documentary that promotes me, my brand, my business, tells my story about how I got there.
Yeah.
There's a fine line maybe between vanity piece, because I love the idea of having a documentary about me, don't get me wrong. There's a fine line between vanity piece, and in fact, I want that. But between vanity piece and marketing material, how are these actually used to generate marketing, promotion, awareness of the businesses?
Yeah, before I answer that, I think it needs to be clear that I won't do this for any brand. So I have my own internal criteria. Like if I'm going to sing your praises and make you look amazing, I have to trust you. I want to see your staff. I want to see what your staff says about you. I'm going to look at your Glassdoor. I'm going to see
that's
what people
me
say
out. If you want to see what the staff says about it, that's me out.
I look at your reviews on Google Business Profile and so forth. But once you've passed my filter, we give them playbooks on how to use this asset. So all of the
Right.
documentaries that I'm filming right now are going to be submitted to Netflix and Amazon. So we're going to
Oh,
break outside. And this is the quality of the cameras. I brought television cameras from South America and I filmed with my TV crew to do this, 60 to 90-minute documentary so that we can get them on Netflix. And a lot of the contracts negotiate a large upside or a performance bonus if we get them on these streaming platforms. So that's the easy playbook. After that, there's a whole bunch of other playbooks that are around, how can you use this material for recruitment, right? So these are B2B companies that I'm working with. They're bringing executives who are making $200,000 to $500,000 a year. If you're bringing a CEO or a COO or a CFO, you can use this content to recruit them and give yourself an edge over your competitors if you're trying to land the smartest person in the room in your industry or as a thought leader type of thing. And obviously, you're using it for sales, right? People are using
of
these
course.
on their homepages. They're using clips across all of their socials. One of the clients that I'm working with in the healthcare space, they're geofencing the US Capitol with ads with clips from the documentary so they can get in the face of all the legislators in the United States to let them know that healthcare is in a crisis and they need their support.
Of course, yeah, using the content for paid advertising. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I love that as a concept because what people tend to do now and what they've done for years to get credibility or build credibility is, oh yeah, I've written a book. Here's my book. Have a look at my book. And you hand out a book like a business card. But how cool is it to say, oh, my business. Oh yeah, check our documentary out on Netflix.
It's funny you say that because I just finalized a trailer yesterday for the documentary to sell it to industries outside of healthcare. And the first 15 seconds, I say, are you tired of hearing your marketers pitch to you to write a book for your CEO? Or you're tired of them to say, hey, we need another podcast or we need to rebrand our podcast? What if you could get between people's ears and in front of their eyes on Amazon and Netflix, telling the story of your industry and your company through your employees' passion for your company? Now that's a winner. So we actually put what you just said. That's our pain point.
What can I say? What can I say? I
I
get
need
it,
to hire
man.
you. I need to give you royalty.
Yep, please. I'll give you the bank details after this. Yep, I get it. I'm totally on board. I love it. But what we are, unfortunately, is we're out of time. We're out of time. So as a final point, anyone listening to this thinking, how can I get in touch with you? How can I work with you? Or if anyone is thinking, where do I get my own documentary on Netflix? What? And I'm sure they are. I'm thinking it. What is the best way for them to get in touch with you?
The easiest way is find me on LinkedIn, Peter Murphy Lewis. I'm the only person on LinkedIn named Peter Murphy Lewis. Send me a connection, send me a message, or you can go to my website, strategicpete.com. And as you know from listening to this, I'm going to identify who you are, and then I'm going to add you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so be careful. If you go to the website, he's going to find you anyway. So you don't even need to fill in that contact form.
Yeah,
Pete,
you
I
can't
love
hide.
it. I love it. Thank you very much. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Appreciate it, sir.